They found the dog at first light, standing rigid at the edge of the trees like a sentry who had forgotten how to sleep. A German shepherd, mud-streaked, ribs faintly visible, refused to move from a fallen log where a black backpack rested in the leaves. When the deputy stepped closer, the dog did not growl. He simply lowered his head and leaned into the pack, as if bracing against a coming wind. The forest was quiet in the way it gets when something terrible has already happened. By the time the zipper was pulled, every officer there understood the same thing at once. This wasn't abandonment. This was a vigil. By the time the call reached the sheriff's office, the fog had begun to thin, peeling itself from the low hollows and the creek beds like damp gauze. Deputy Eli Mercer took it because no one else wanted to. Lost dog, maybe a hunter's pack, woods out past Bracken Ridge where the radios hissed and the trees grew old and close. Dog won't let anyone near, the dispatcher said. Hiker called it in. Says the animal's protective. Eli drove with the window cracked, letting the cold keep him alert. The road narrowed to gravel, then to dirt, then to nothing that deserved a name. He parked at a bend where a rusted gate leaned on a single hinge. The woods swallowed sound. Even the engine tick seemed too loud. The hiker, college-aged, pale, breathless, stood with his phone out, filming from a distance. It just showed up. Eli asked. Been here since yesterday, maybe longer. I camped down by the creek. Heard it pacing all night. Thought it was a wolf. Eli scanned the trees. The dog stood 10 yards in, tall and still, ears pricked, eyes on him. A black backpack lay against a mossy log at the dog's feet, one strap twisted as if it had been dragged. Eli raised a hand, palm out. Easy, boy. The shepherd didn't bare teeth. He didn't step forward. He simply shifted, placing one paw atop the pack. Claiming it. Eli felt the first prickle then, the sense that the woods were holding their breath. He keyed his radio. Sheriff, I've got eyes on it. Dogs guarding a pack. Doesn't look aggressive. Animal control en route, Sheriff Tom Caldwell said, voice gravel-thick. Anything else? Eli looked again. The pack was clean, newer than most you saw out here. A scuff near the zipper. A smear of something dark on the side that might have been mud. Something feels off, Eli said, and hated how thin that sounded over the radio. He approached slowly, boots crunching leaves. The dog tracked him with calm intensity, tail low but steady. When Eli stopped, the shepherd stopped. They stood like that for a long moment, mirroring. Eli crouched. He spoke low, the way his father had taught him back when they trained dogs together behind the old barn. I'm not here to take anything from you. The shepherd's eyes flicked to the pack, then back. Eli reached out, just enough to brush the zipper with 2 fingers. The dog leaned in, not threatening, but firm. A boundary drawn. Okay, Eli said. Okay. He waited. Sheriff Caldwell arrived with animal control and Dr. Myra Singh, the county vet, in tow. They stood in a loose semicircle, the forest pressing in on them. He's not feral, Myra said, studying the shepherd. Look at his stance. He's trained. Belongs to someone, Caldwell said. Or belonged. Animal control readied a catch-pole. Eli shook his head. He's not going to bolt. He's not here for that. Myra nodded. She knelt, spoke softly. The shepherd watched her, then looked back to the pack. What's in the bag? Caldwell asked. Eli met his eyes. Let's find out without making this worse. They used a sedative dart, light enough to calm but not drop. The shepherd swayed, confusion flickering through him, then settled with a huff, chin resting on the backpack as if on a pillow. Even sedated, he would not let go. Eli's chest tightened. He pulled the zipper. Inside, the first thing he saw was a folded flannel shirt, clean, smelling faintly of soap. Beneath it, a notebook. A wallet. And sealed in a plastic evidence bag, improvised, taped at the edges, a phone that was not off, not dead. It vibrated once, then again. A message preview lit the screen. Please. If you find this. Eli didn't read further. He didn't need to. He looked up. Caldwell's face had gone slack, the way it did when the ground dropped out from under you. What is it? Myra asked. Eli lifted the wallet with gloved fingers. An ID slid halfway free. The name on it was one everyone in Blackwater knew. Blackwater was the kind of town where news didn't travel so much as seep. By noon, the diner buzzed with it. By dusk, the church steps were full of whispers. By morning, grief had found its way into the cracks of things people thought were solid. The name belonged to Daniel Reeve. Daniel, who coached Little League. Daniel, who fixed generators after storms. Daniel, who'd been last seen 3 days ago heading up Bracken Ridge with his dog, Atlas, for a weekend hike before the season turned. They brought the shepherd, Atlas, to the clinic. He paced when he woke, searching, then pressed his nose to Eli's knee and whined once, low and confused. "Easy," Eli said, voice breaking despite himself. "We're figuring it out." They catalogued the contents of the pack. The notebook held dates, trails, weather notes, nothing strange until the last page, where Daniel's careful handwriting broke into a rush. "If you're reading this, I didn't make it back. I didn't run. I didn't fall." The rest trailed off into a smudge where the ink had met water. The phone held drafts of messages never sent. Photos of trail markers. One audio file recorded at night, wind and breathing and a distant sound like metal on stone. Caldwell stood in the doorway, hat in his hands. "Search and rescue is spinning up. We'll find him." Eli nodded, but the woods had already told him something else. The pack hadn't been abandoned in a hurry. It had been placed. The dog had been told to stay. That night, Eli drove home along the creek. He passed the old Reeve place, lights dark, the porch sagging a little more than last winter. He thought of Daniel's laugh, the way he always carried extra rope. At his kitchen table, Eli opened the notebook again. On the inside cover, Daniel had written one line, small and precise. "Atlas knows. Trust him." The search began before dawn. Volunteers fanned out with thermoses and maps, boots breaking frost. The forest closed ranks behind them, patient. Atlas rode in Eli's truck, restless but focused. When they reached the trailhead, he pulled at the leash, not away, but toward a narrow cut that didn't appear on any map. "Not that way," Caldwell said. Atlas sat, looked back at Eli. Eli swallowed. "Sheriff, we should listen to him." Caldwell hesitated. The wind moved through the trees like a held breath released. 10 minutes, he said. "Then we pull back." Atlas led them along a game trail, then off it, through laurel and over slick stone. The woods smelled of iron and rot. Somewhere ahead, water moved. They found the place where the ground gave way without warning, a sinkhole masked by leaves. A rope hung from a tree, frayed at the end. Eli's stomach clenched. At the edge, Atlas stopped. He did not bark. He lay down. "Daniel!" Caldwell called, voice echoing too much. No answer. They didn't go down that day. Not yet. The ground was unstable. The light was wrong. The woods, as ever, were waiting. Back at the clinic, Myra examined Atlas. "He's exhausted," she said. "And he's hurt." There was a thin cut along his flank, old enough to have scabbed. Clean. Deliberate. Eli stared. "That's not from brush." "No," Myra said. "It's from a blade." The room felt smaller. That night, Eli listened to the audio file again. He turned it up, filtered the noise. Beneath the wind, beneath Daniel's breath, there was a voice. Not Daniel's. Low. Close. Saying a name. The woods changed after the sinkhole. Eli noticed it first in the way sound behaved, how footsteps seemed to travel too far, how voices came back altered, thinner. Search and rescue returned with better gear, with ropes rated for weight and radios that cut through underbrush, but the place itself resisted them. Trees leaned inward. The earth smelled bruised. They set up a perimeter. Yellow tape fluttered uselessly against bark. Caldwell ran the briefing with his jaw set, his eyes skimming faces, avoiding Eli's for half a second too long. "We go slow," the sheriff said. "We document everything. No assumptions." Atlas sat beside Eli, calm as a held breath. His eyes never left the sinkhole. Myra approached quietly. "I looked at the cut again," she said. "It was cleaned. Someone tended it." "Daniel," Eli said. "Or someone else," Myra replied, gentle but firm. They rigged the descent. Eli volunteered before Caldwell finished asking. The sheriff hesitated, then nodded. You see anything, Caldwell said, lowering his voice. Anything that doesn't make sense. I know, Eli said. I stop. Atlas whined once, a thin sound that threaded through Eli's ribs. He knelt, pressed his forehead to the dog's. I'll be back. The sinkhole swallowed light. Eli descended into damp coolness, rope creaking, boots scraping stone. The walls were slick with lichen. 10 feet down, the smell hit him. Old water, minerals, something faintly sweet and wrong. His boot touched ground. The cavity opened wider than expected, a bowl carved by time. A trickle of water cut through the far wall, disappearing into a crack too narrow for a man. Eli swept his light. He saw the rope first, the frayed end they'd spotted from above. It lay coiled near a rock, purposeful. Beside it, a flashlight. Dead. And further back, tucked where the wall bowed inward, a shape that resolved into a pack identical to the one Atlas had guarded. Eli's heart hammered. Sheriff, he said into the radio, I've got another bag. Don't touch it, Caldwell said immediately. Eli didn't. He scanned instead. The floor bore scuffs, drag marks. A smear of dark on stone. Blood, dried almost black. He followed the marks to the crack where the water ran. There, wedged between rock and earth, was a boot. Hiking. Familiar. Daniel, Eli said, not into the radio this time. He backed away slowly, cataloging, breathing through his mouth. The walls seemed closer now. Above, Caldwell's voice crackled. Status. Confirmed, Eli said. We need a technical team. And, Sheriff, there's a second bag. Silence stretched. Copy, Caldwell said finally. Come up. When Eli emerged, the air felt too thin. Atlas surged forward, sniffing Eli's boots, his hands, his face, searching for a truth Eli couldn't give him. They sealed the site. Brought in state techs. News vans gathered at the road's end, kept back by tape and Caldwell's glare. The second bag held different things. Not clothes. Not trail notes. Inside were laminated maps marked with grease pencil. Coordinates circled in red. A USB drive. A cheap burner phone with one number saved. And a small metal box with a dent in one corner, locked with a code. What the hell is this? Caldwell muttered. Eli's eyes kept returning to the maps. The circles overlapped old logging roads, private parcels, places locals avoided because nothing ever grew back right. Sheriff, Eli said slowly. Daniel wasn't just hiking. They convened in the conference room, blinds drawn. The air smelled of coffee and paper. Myra sat in on the briefing at Caldwell's request. She'd been Daniel's friend longer than most. She kept her hands folded, jaw tight. USB is encrypted, the tech said. But the file structure, financials, recordings, images. It's organized. Organized how? Caldwell asked. Like evidence. The word landed heavy. Eli spoke up. The cut on Atlas, clean blade. Daniel knew how to dress wounds, but that doesn't explain. The voice on the recording, Caldwell said. You mentioned it again. Eli nodded. I filtered it. It's not Daniel. It says a name. Myra looked up sharply. Whose? Eli hesitated. This was where trust bent. I want to be sure. Caldwell leaned back. Eli. It sounds like Ben Holloway. The room went still. Ben Holloway owned half the timber north of Bracken Ridge. He funded the Little League. He paid for the new roof on the church. He'd shaken Eli's hand at more town events than he could count. No, Caldwell said, too fast. Ben's a blowhard, not a murderer. I didn't say murderer, Eli replied. I said his name is on the recording. Myra's voice was quiet. Ben and Daniel argued last fall. Over the ridge. Everyone argues over land, Caldwell said. Not like that, Myra said. Daniel came to me. He thought something was wrong up there. He asked about water testing. The tech cleared his throat. Sheriff, the maps, Some of these coordinates line up with old dumping sites. The kind companies paid to forget. Caldwell rubbed his face. Years seemed to settle into him all at once. "We do this clean," he said. "We don't light a match in this town without proof." Eli nodded. He understood the calculus. He also understood Atlas, pacing outside the door, every nerve attuned to a truth that paperwork would lag behind. That night, Eli drove past Holloway Timber. Lights burned late. Trucks idled. Men moved with purpose that didn't match a normal workday. Eli parked in shadow and listened. The burner phone buzzed in the evidence locker, unseen. One vibration. The code on the metal box wasn't hard once Eli thought like Daniel. Dates. Trail numbers. Nothing. Then he remembered the inside cover of the notebook. Atlas knows. Trust him. Eli brought Atlas into the room. The shepherd sniffed the box, then nudged it, impatient. He pawed once. Twice. Stopped. 4, Eli said softly. He turned the dial. The lock clicked open. Inside lay a stack of photographs sealed in plastic. A ledger. And a vial wrapped in foam. The photos showed barrels, rusted, leaking, half-buried. The ledger listed dates, quantities, payments routed through shell companies. The vial held clear liquid. Water sample. Eli asked Myra. She took it with care. "We'll test it." The ledger's last entry ended 2 weeks ago. A note in the margin, written harder than the rest. Moved sooner than planned. Someone knows. Eli's phone rang. Caldwell. "Eli," the sheriff said. "Where are you?" "At the station." "You need to come with me." "No." They drove without sirens. Past the Holloway gate. Up a service road that cut deeper than most dared go. At a clearing, they found Ben Holloway's truck. Door open. Engine warm. "Ben." Caldwell called. No answer. They followed footprints to a shed. Inside, the air reeked of chemicals. Tarps lay folded. A rope hung from a beam, newer than the one in the sinkhole. Caldwell swore under his breath. On a table lay a radio, tuned to the same frequency search and rescue used. And beside it, a photograph of Atlas, taken from a distance. Eli's stomach dropped. "He knew about the dog," Eli said. Caldwell's face went pale. He knew Daniel wouldn't leave without him. They heard it then, a truck starting, farther up the road. Caldwell bolted. Eli followed, lungs burning. The wood's fractured sound sent it skittering. They reached the ridge as the truck fishtailed onto the gravel. Caldwell raised his weapon. "Ben." "Stop." The truck lurched, then stalled. Ben Holloway stepped out slowly, hands raised. He was older than Eli remembered. Or maybe just smaller without the town around him. "You don't understand," Ben said. "I was fixing a problem." "You made one," Caldwell snapped. Ben's eyes flicked to Eli. "Daniel was going to burn this town down," he said. "He didn't know when to stop." Eli stepped closer. "So you followed him into the woods?" Ben laughed once, sharp. "I went to talk. He fell." The lie hung there, poorly dressed. "And the cut on the dog?" Eli asked. "You talk with a knife too?" Ben's mouth tightened. "That animal attacked me." Atlas's growl cut through the night, low and absolute. Eli hadn't noticed him slip the leash. Ben froze. "Keep it away." Atlas stepped forward anyway, eyes locked on Ben's. "Sheriff," Eli said without looking away, "he's lying." Caldwell didn't lower his weapon. "Ben, get on the ground." Ben hesitated. Just long enough. The shot rang out, not from Caldwell's gun. From the tree line. Ben crumpled, shock etched across his face. Caldwell dove, dragging Eli down as another shot cracked bark inches from where Eli's head had been. Atlas lunged toward the sound. "Atlas!" Eli shouted. The woods answered with silence. When they reached Ben, blood soaked the dirt. He was alive. Barely. "Who?" Caldwell demanded. Ben coughed, red frothing. "Not me," he whispered. "I wasn't alone." His eyes rolled back. Sirens wailed in the distance. Too late. Eli's gaze tracked the tree line. Somewhere out there, someone had protected a secret long enough to kill for it. Atlas returned, teeth bared, fur bristling. He carried something in his mouth. A badge. Not Caldwell's. Not Eli's. They never found the shooter. By the time backup arrived, the woods had folded back into themselves, swallowing tracks, muting direction. Dogs lost the scent at the creek. Drones saw nothing but canopy and shadow. The badge Atlas dropped at Eli's feet belonged to no one on record. Old issue, the kind towns used to hand out to private security when lines blurred and favors were currency. Ben Holloway died before sunrise. The official cause was blood loss. The unofficial one passed between mouths that knew how to keep quiet. He took too much weight with him, and someone else had decided he was done being useful. Eli sat on the steps of the clinic while dawn came in thin and gray. Atlas lay beside him, pressed close, his breathing steady now, as if the night had burned something out of him. Caldwell joined them, slower than usual. "State's taking over," he said. "Environmental Crimes Unit. They'll bury this in process." Eli didn't look up. "And Daniel?" Caldwell exhaled. "They recovered him this morning. Down the crack past the sinkhole. He was alive for a while." Eli closed his eyes. He pictured Daniel tying the rope, testing knots, pushing Atlas back with a gentle word. "Stay. Guard. Trust." "Did he fall?" Eli asked. Caldwell hesitated. That was answer enough. They held a quiet service 3 days later. No speeches. Just the sound of the creek and the wind worrying leaves. Atlas sat at the front, unmoving. When they lowered the box, he stood and placed one paw against the wood, then lay down again. After, Myra handed Eli a folder. "The water tests," she said. "The vial from the box. It's bad." "How bad?" "Bad enough that if it all comes out, this town changes forever." Eli nodded. "Will it?" Myra met his eyes. She was tired. "Some of it already has. The state sealed Holloway timber within the week. Trucks stopped coming. Men found other work. The ridge went quiet in a new way, not the patient silence of the woods, but the brittle quiet of something interrupted. At night, Eli listened to the audio again, the one Daniel had recorded. He filtered and slowed it, pulled the noise apart. The voice said a name. Not Ben Holloway. Caldwell's. Eli sat with that until the sun rose. When he went to the sheriff's house, Caldwell answered in shirt sleeves, older than he'd ever looked. "You hear it too," Caldwell said before Eli could speak. "I do." Caldwell nodded once. "I told Ben to scare him. I didn't tell him to hurt anyone." "And the shooter?" Eli asked. Caldwell's mouth twitched. "Insurance." They stood there, the weight of years between them. "You going to arrest me?" Caldwell asked. Eli thought of Atlas, of the rope, of the way the town would fracture. He thought of Daniel's careful handwriting. "No," Eli said. "I'm going to tell the truth where it can't be buried." Caldwell closed his eyes. "Then do it clean." They charged Caldwell quietly. He resigned before the warrant hit paper. The case crawled. The evidence spoke in ledgers and water samples and maps that could not be argued with. Atlas went home with Eli. At first, he paced at night, checking doors, windows, corners. Eli let him. Some habits are earned. Spring came slow. Grass pushed through where tape had been. The creek ran clearer. One evening, Eli took Atlas back to the woods. Not to the sinkhole. To the trail Daniel loved most. They walked until the light thinned. Atlas stopped at a bend and sat, looking back at Eli. "We're okay," Eli said. "You did good." Atlas leaned into his leg, weight solid and warm. On the way out, Eli found something half buried near the path, a scrap of flannel caught on a thorn. He left it there. Some things aren't meant to be taken. The woods held their quiet. Not the kind that waits. The kind that remembers.